Welcome to Peace Freaks, a parenting and family podcast for the freaks, geeks, nerds, and weirdos, the outcasts who went on and had their own. We're used to being the exception to the rule, so come along with us as we try to also live exceptionally. We're here to help make you the best version of your freaky family. All right, welcome everyone to episode number 127 of Peace Freaks. I'm Nikki P, here as always during this holiday season with my lovely wife and co-host Lizzie. How are we doing there, babe?
Hi, everybody.
I am not awake enough to be dealing with you at this level of emotional stuff, so...
I know, I'm sorry. I've been thinking a lot all morning, and I've had a lot of caffeine, and about the most amount of sleep that I get between November and, that Christmas thing. So, yeah, sorry.
Right on. It's been an interesting week.
It has.
Continues to get more interesting. Let's start off, since you didn't have any books to...
I had literally no reading time, yeah.
Yeah, it's not that. She also doesn't have a phone working right now either, so...
Well, yeah, that's true. I do normally.
Can't even listen to work.
Yeah, that's true.
So, I read this week Man's Search for Meaning by Viktor E. Frankl, which I thought was a really good book to read and re-up on. I've read it before, back in the day.
Yeah.
But given how weird everything's been, I felt like it was probably useful to read a book by a guy who lived through Nazi death camps and still managed to find a way to keep positive. And his whole deal is that you can, no matter how bad things are, having meaning, can keep you going.
Yeah.
It's the difference between what keeps people quitting and giving up on life as opposed to kind of trudging along. The other one is one that I found. It just seemed like a cool book, and so far it's definitely turned out to be pretty cool. I'm not quite done with it, but should be by the time we do next episode anyways. Called Algorithms to Live By Brian Christian and Tom Griffiths.
Nice.
And it's like computer scientists kind of study probability and things that happen in real life. Basically, they're telling you what job you should take when a job hunt or which house you should settle on when you're...
By the algorithms?
Yes.
Huh.
Like you should look at X amount of houses based on the time that you're planning on looking for them, and at this point, you just take that house and you'll be happy.
Oh.
Or you'll maximize happiness.
Interesting. We'll have to remember that when we're house hunting.
It was definitely something interesting. So let's see here. Other than that, folks, if you've got a parenting story you want to hear on the show or a product or service you think others might appreciate, why don't you get a hold of us on social media or peacefreaks@nickmccone.com. Also, if you have a topic that you just like to hear us ramble about and not really want to come on and talk yourself, you can do that. Without further ado, we'll get into this first song and hit up our topic.
I wonder what is on your mind. If you found what you wanted to find. Why you're gone, I can't recall. Was there a reason at all? The providence behind our fates nocturnally illuminates an ironclad purpose to bind. I wonder what is on your mind. Did I mistake you for divine? Were God and flesh and stars align? If it's good, it can't be true. I hope to be different with you. You were placid, I was restless.
All right, we are back with the much-awaited follow-up to our self-esteem episode.
That's right. We teased it, and so now we're doing it finally.
Well, we've done it in the past, kind of.
Yeah.
We had what's it called? I think we did an episode on while we were doing Parent to Podcaster. I think we might have done an episode of it during that. I think we actually did another one during the Introvert Musician.
Oh yeah.
We've covered this and had this conversation before, but we've never had this conversation, I don't think, for this audience.
Okay. Well, yeah, and I'm going to try not to recover too much of that ground about my background and stuff.
Well, if they didn't watch the other two, I don't know why that would matter.
Well, I didn't say I wasn't going to cover it out at all, just not, cover it in depth or from the angles that I've really talked about before, or at least I'm going to try not to. It is interesting talking about this at this time of year, though, because I'm stressed. So I found that I have a reaction to stress, which tends to make me feel like I'm accomplishing less than I am. And I think we've actually done a lot better this season than we have in previous seasons. I can objectively look at some things and say, yeah, this works better than it did. But, there's that part of me, I think, less now, but more before that would definitely be saying, oh, well, I stink at everything and nothing good is happening. And, I'm not finding myself doing that as much now.
We've had a few conversations, but not near as many as in past seasons.
Yeah, exactly. So I would say if there's a place I want to get to, I definitely can see I've come a ways, and I can see, there's obviously some ways to go yet, but there are definitely differences. The basic thing is I had one tool in my toolbox as far as dealing with things, and that was avoidance or escapism, really, is probably the word I would have used.
Okay.
Both parents had trauma in their pasts and nobody really dealt with it, and they didn't really deal with it, and any trauma that was in my youth wasn't really dealt with. And so I learned to just not deal with things, which it doesn't really make you functional, but it allowed us all to get by, except for when you're an adult and, you're dealing with another human adult person who's, expecting for bills to get paid and stuff like that to happen. Then just getting by in an escapist sort of way doesn't really work so well, because they do actually shut your gas off and stuff. So did not work very well for me in that past life. And then as I was coming out of that, it sort of showed up in different ways, but still probably not super healthy ways. So that wasn't working for me really well. So really around the time that I met you is when I started looking for different tools, because I'd finally gotten past the point where I thought, well, okay, nothing matters. And, my life's going down anyways. And I really got to the point where I said, well, if I'm going to have a life that's worth living, how do I, accomplish that? So I started getting into more tools then. And, you talk about how I was when I met you.
Mm-hmm.
As far as social anxiety and capabilities and stuff. And that it was pretty bad, but it was miles farther than I'd gone up to then. I wasn't quite like that as a kid, but it was there. And then things just sort of got worse in the middle, in that teenage, young adult sort of space. So yeah, I wasn't really able to talk to people comfortably. I would go over and rehearse the conversation and figure out, why that person hates me now because of what I said. I just had a lot of sort of recordings of the reasons why things weren't working out for me, sort of playing in loops in my head, that kind of stuff. Not audibly, obviously. I don't have any psychosis, but
okay.
The anxiety stuff was definitely there, the neuroses, and some of that runs in my family, but that's not something that has to be permanent. And I did eventually figure that out. I made changes and I saw that I could actually affect my life. And that was the start of me sort of growing. So obviously the kid had something to do with it, because I always wanted to be a mom that was, I wanted to be a mom that created kind of a homey space, and I'd never seen a model for that.
You moved around a lot, and I think when I moved in with you, it's the first time someone had ever just declared this is going to be home. And
yeah, absolutely. You made me buy furniture and soft textiles to go around places, and that was all new. Again, new things in my toolbox, and so it was all a learning experience. Again, escapism did not work super well in labor. Just so you know. I'm gonna let you know now. You can cross that off the list. It's not helpful. And then we kind of get to the point where we're building the podcast thing here.
Mm-hmm.
And that kind of gave me a sandbox, to use the computer term, I guess, to work on, okay, well, if I do have a conversation with people I don't know, how can I show up? If I say something that I think is dumb, what's the worst that could happen? It's recorded. People can go back and listen to it. That person heard it. Is the world going to explode? Am I going to be hated by everyone forever? I got to kind of play around with a lot of those things, which was super cool. And I think both you and I got into learning from others. And I guess if I were going to give any sort of thing approaching the idea of advice, which I'm always hesitant to give because it seems like I'm saying that I'm coming from a place of, I've done this thing.
Fixedness.
Yeah.
I'm fixed.
Yeah. But if I was going to give any kind of advice, I would say, just start paying attention to what you're thinking and what you're saying, and also start listening to other people's stories, because I've learned so much from just listening to how people function. And, that was enough to get me out of that idea that I was uniquely non-functional for a human being, that whatever I'd been through or whatever tools I started with made me just completely unequipped to do anything. And if you have people in your life who your relationship is based on you being in that role, see if you can change that relationship. I had that kind of relationship and I couldn't change it, so I got out of it. And you may have to get out of, that kind of you really just want to get yourself out of that role, however you need to do that. Because if you're acting in the role of non-functional person day in and day out, it makes it a lot harder to sort of change that. And I think that's one thing that really works in you and I's relationship. Just the other day, you were saying to me, like, a lack of planning on your part does not make a crisis on my part, or something like that. And I love that you say things like that to me, because with that comes the implied assumption that, I am capable of figuring my shit out. And it sort of challenges me to, like, okay, I'm not going to figure your shit out for you. So you figure it out and you let me know what I can do to help you, and again, in past relationships, the roles were so set in, like, you are non-functional, I have to fix this for you, that there was no opportunity for me to sort of grow. So,
well, I am broken people too, so it's not like I can just wait around forever for you to not be broken people, because I got to work on my own shit, so I can't be doing all the heavy lifting for you too.
Right. No, and as I've listened to other people's stories, I've come to realize that that's kind of everybody. Everybody has their shit that could make them quote unquote broken.
I am probably a radically open person about my shit.
Yeah.
I don't really try to sugarcoat or hide it.
Yeah.
I'd imagine that's probably been good for our relationship and for you.
Oh, no, absolutely.
I'm not about taking time and wasting time on people hiding what's going on with them.
Yeah.
Like, it's probably how, I guess, where my tism would kick in, is that I just demand honesty with oneself and with me.
Yeah. And I don't know if that's, something that you grew up with or something that's just you, but yes, I love it, and it's helpful to me, and I
wish the kid loved it.
I think she's coming from a very instinctual place, because, like, let's just say if you have any stock at all in the idea of, like, a muscle memory that's passed on, the fight and the flight reflexes going generations back for me are pretty lax, but the freeze reflexes, oh, heck yeah, them boys are strong. Like,
you making this a black thing?
No, I'm not making it a black thing.
Well, you're taking it back to slavery and, like, oh, no, my people who just do this.
Well, no, I did think about that angle of that idea, and I don't believe that you can blanketly say, well, this trauma happened in your ancestors' past, and it's definitely genetically passed on, and that makes everything that anyone did to you generations back still your problem. Like, no, that's crap, because then there's no chance for anybody to make any changes, and that's obviously a thing that people have been able to overcome.
Well, that's Ta-Nehisi Coates' point, is that they never can. They're always going to have to be wards of the white state, essentially. Yeah,
no, that's total crap, and I really, really hope people don't believe that.
But that is the common current understanding of it. So.
Oh, I know. Trust me, the idea is out there, and I think people act on the idea, which makes it's kind of insidious. But so I'm not suggesting that. I'm suggesting that the habits are passed on as habits, and I'm not going to say that I never display any of those tendencies, especially when I'm stressed. So I'm sure it's stuff that's seen and can be picked up. And I guess I'm trying to work hard on making my more useful habits, my more functional, tools that I'm using now,
Mm-hmm.
really visible to the kid too. And hopefully she'll pick those up also. It stinks right now because I haven't seen her a lot. We don't get to hang out as much. Like I basically just pour my free time now into like, okay, let's just spend quality time with the kid. Everything else, the house is wrecked. Everything else is kind of going by the wayside. But again, that's why I can objectively say things are better than they were, because this is me not, I'm doing the air quotes with my fingers. This is me not keeping up with the house and everything. And it's probably better than, it was when I started and I was home all day, every day with, this little newborn and really trying to keep stuff together. So, I have grown, I've changed, and I've learned a lot. And whoever you find that you can learn from, like totally do that. Like I started listening to people that inspire me and taking notes and asking a lot of questions. And I've tried everything, from the mindfulness to the meditation to the, just being, just let everything be. And those have all been useful to me in certain capacities at certain times. And then I'll probably go through the whole gamut of tools again. Whatever is pushing me forward, I'm going to kind of keep doing. So I don't know. Was that a fair coverage of the thing? Is there anything you think I should pick out?
No, I mean, it was definitely an interesting. It was the most concise I've ever heard you talk about it.
Well, I wanted, if there was a way that I could express it in a way that was not kind of trying to explain my story as much as it was trying to let you, the listener, know, what's useful about my story. I wanted to do that because that's kind of what this show's about, is helping all of us to be the best version of our weird, freaky selves, right?
Yeah, no, that was kind of the point. If you had one major takeaway, like the advice for maybe helping someone get started if they feel like they're not living up to their own potential and that their self-esteem's holding them back, what would it be?
I mean, the thing that really got me started.
I assume marrying an awesome me is not on the table.
Oh, yes. I mean, no, actually, I'm gonna be really like, you've probably heard it before and it sounds dumb, but like I saw a therapist, like talk therapist, who just freaking listened to me and said like, how do you feel about that? And like, what do you think about that? Basically just held up a mirror. That's all they do for the most part.
And you continue to try and go back, and I'm just like, Liz, no.
No, I know. I did, and I'm
just fucking talk to me.
kind of past that now, because I do realize, like, as you said, they've done articles or studies or whatever who've said basically if you have a really good friend who can do that for you and like give you a safe space hate that phrase, it can give you a place that you feel comfortable talking about stuff.
JW is ruining everything.
And can just kind of reflect back to you like, how do you feel about that? Then you can get pretty far. And yeah, that's basically what got me out of all of the loops, the loops I'd been in as a kid and that adult life that I started that wasn't really working for me. And that's what really gave me the courage to say, you know what, I actually do see what's happening and I don't like it. And I believe that I'm capable of changing it. So yeah, that might be part of the solution for you.
Mm-hmm.
Might be something useful. And otherwise, yeah, just look for tools.
Right on. Well, I think we're going to hit up this second song and then we're going to get into our ending. right. Well, let's ask the first question. Liz, have we been doing anything for gardening?
Actually, there's a little part of that's like doing a happy dance inside because we are technically eating from our garden this week because there's some of our carrots and turnips in the beef stew that'll be going with you to work for lunch.
Interesting. How did all that work out? I was unaware of this.
Yeah, they came up good. They came up well. There were a couple that are still on the small side, so I kind of left them.
Okay.
I was under the impression you could kind of just let them chill on the ground until you're ready to do stuff with them.
Okay.
But we did get like actual recognizable, cuttable size carrots and turnips out of the ground in our backyard. So that was pretty cool, especially because like the net house is still falling over out there. Honestly, the nets being on the ground is probably what's keeping the bunnies from eating everything.
Okay.
I'm going to be honest. Yeah. So yeah, that's the garden.
I've been cutting 2 liters, some that we have that are compiling up again.
Nice. Yeah, the winter sowing is still happening.
We're almost through peak season. Let's almost through it.
Yes. And then we can like think about anything else again.
For reals. How about on the homeschooling front?
The homeschooling front, again, we're still on hiatus. However, we have been exploring Hanukkah. It's the 4th day, 5th day? I think it's the 5th day. And we've read some books and we lit the menorah and it's been
Stuffed a really crappy jelly donut inside me.
I know. I'm really going to have to make those when I actually have time to make them properly next year. And latkes, like...
The latkes were good.
Yeah. I want to try making it with schmaltz next year, though.
Okay.
Yeah.
I guess since we're talking about baking things, we were working on our gingerbread house.
Yeah, that's a learning experience.
So we don't know if we've mentioned it. So every year, me and Irma will usually make one of those like store-bought gingerbread houses. And I thought it'd be fun this year to make one of our own, like start from scratch.
Yeah.
Which was probably, whatever, was an okay idea.
It was.
Until I'm like, well, maybe my sister wants to participate because she'd just find it fun. Like, we'll just each kind of make a gingerbread house.
And the whole thing gets more complicated.
Well, it wasn't that. It's that we show up to my sister's house. And my parents, every year we do a traditional Christmas gift, which is like, my parents want to start a new tradition. So we have lots of new traditions for the family. But apparently, completely unbeknownst to me, they had decided that their traditional Christmas gift this year was going to be building gingerbread houses and having a family competition. And they've gotten judges and...
And then things got a lot more complicated.
Which I have all my high-minded aspirations for what we were going to do. And then, we get into the thick of peak season and it's just like, oh God, I don't know how the hell we're going to do this. We just don't have time. Like,
yeah.
I see Liz once a week, essentially.
Pretty much. I have like 36 hours off, basically.
A couple hours in the middle of like Saturday night.
Yeah.
That's all I ever see you.
Because otherwise I'm asleep or you were at work.
Yes, very, very much so. I'm not complaining about the paychecks, but
yeah,
it does suck not seeing my lovely lady.
Aww.
But so essentially I think we're going to have maybe 8 hours of total time that we can work on this.
Right, basically.
I would believe it's not possible if I had not seen it on any of the baking shows on Netflix. So
this is true.
But worth mentioning since we were talking about, cooking there for a minute.
Yep.
Also, we still got the kiwi crates that are coming in. So even though we're not like in homeschool proper, we're still working on those, me and Irma.
Yeah. The learning definitely happens.
Well, those are always fun. So I guess all that out of the way, folks, head on over to peacefreaks.com. You can get the show notes. You can get links to join us on social networks of your choice. I'm wanting to get away from a lot of the social networks. So I will probably be hanging out on like Parler, MeWe, and Instagram, and that'll be about it. Even Twitter's getting to be a little bit like, I don't like this place now.
Mm-hmm.
But if you like the show, hit that subscribe button or in your podcatcher or, wherever you're doing it. Smash it if you're on YouTube because they tell everyone to smash that like button. If you want to help spread the word, liking and sharing on your preferred social network is huge because the algorithms hate us. And they hate everybody. They don't want anyone to do anything. They want us all to become dependent on Facebook, and I would prefer not to do that. I'd prefer to become dependent on the people that I want to be dependent on, which is all you for nice folks. So if you want to do us one better than just liking and sharing, you can rate and review the show on iTunes. That's really good. It helps us get into the charts, whatever it is, for whatever category we're in. I'm not entirely sure what category they have us in right now.
Uh-oh.
It's always a fun one. But last, if you think that's not enough, you really enjoy what we want to do and you want to help us kind of keep things going, why don't you donate? You can head over to upgradetheshow.com and you help offset the cost of running things. Any extra money, if we manage to get enough to cover the running costs, will go to advertising. We take both fiat and crypto. And anyone who reviews us or, donates, we'll give a shout out to on the show, which could be free advertising for your podcast or whatever your thing is that you're doing. Oh, and I got to get it up. We have some affiliate links. In particular, one of the ones that we do have is KiwiCo. I love all their boxes. They're so cool.
Yeah, they're pretty cool.
I wish we'd had KiwiCo when I was a kid because I would have been all over that nonsense.
Oh, man.
But we actually do get a kickback. And I think there's discounts also for you guys. Like if you want your kids to have a really cool project to work on, KiwiCo is where it's at. Ask me for the link and I'll get it to you because I just haven't had time to set that up. I guess lastly, I hope you guys have been enjoying all the extra content through the holidays with all the Year on Tree episodes. They're super fun for me and Liz because we just love Christmas.
Yeah, and I'm sorry for anyone I triggered over the Klaus review. I don't know what I was smoking that day. I'm just saying that.
She was so angry. It was hilarious. And to everyone else, thanks. You're welcome for the imagery. I do like to doll my baby up.
Yeah, that's a whole thing now at work.
Now the guys at work are listening to, me talk about scantily cladding my wife.
It's not awkward at all.
It's fun for me, though, mostly because it's awkward. So anyways, folks, go out there, have yourselves a good day and a happy holiday.
Thanks, guys.
This podcast is a proud creation of the Mad Audio Lab. For more information, check out madaudiolab.com. Peace Freqs is part of the Liberty Hippie Podcast Network. If you like what we do, be sure to check out Homesteads and Homeschools, Free Markets Green Earth, Cannabis Heals Me, and This Week in Liberpods. We're living proof that libertarian doesn't mean washed up Republican.